Good evening, everybody, and welcome. A little bit later than usual. We are 7 minutes late today for League of Europe Division 5, Round 7 at Saudi Arabia, our first ever trip to Saudi Arabia to the Jeddah Corniche circuit. I am Killer Blue 295, back from a week's absence. You'll all be delighted to hear. And I am joined, as always, by the ever delightful, ever radiant QBR Packer. How are you, sir?
Yeah, doing all right. Both finished in D1, so yeah, I think we're both pretty excited about that. No points, but hopefully we'll get into what should be quite an exciting race here at Saudi Arabia. Division 1 had quite the interesting ending, and I'm looking forward to later on in this race. 27 corners here tonight, 25 laps in the race. It should be quite the interesting race.
Yep, 27 corners, more corners than any track on the Formula 1 calendar, and you have myself and Packer tripping over those corner numbers all evening to look forward to. Let's run through the standings as we get going for qualifying. So we've got NL Energetics leads the championship. He has 103 points. He's not racing tonight, so a chance for everyone else to close up the gap. ERS Major is in second, 74 points. 29 points behind. Then we've got Slumpcon on 62, Ghost Recon 52, Harry F on 39 as Joseph immediately retires from the session for some reason. Javs on 36, They Hate Melty on 34, albeit that's only from two races, the two most recent rounds, so he's in good form. Marcy on 28, Swip on 26, Jamie on 22, Ben Scott on 21, Jess on 18, Alex on 17, 13 for Reardon, 10 for Serial Killer, 10 for Joseph, and that's rounded out the double figures. We've lost Bowers, who had won 2 races in a row and 3 podiums on the trot in his races in D3, D5 so far. He's gone up to D4. He's replaced by TTG Aboud in the Ferrari this week. And let's have a look, Packer, at some of these cars that are out on track. Our first driver on track is this man, ERS Major, very much championship contender on the mediums. Who are you fancying this week, Packer, in qualifying?
Well, it's going to be difficult to say. Obviously, first time coming to this circuit. They Hate Melty, apparently, is going to be quite competitive, I've heard. Just looking around in the Division 5 chat earlier on. He's in the McLaren this time out, obviously. Still a reserve is They Hate Melty, looking to find a full-time seat somewhere on the grid for Division 5, maybe later on in the season. But we also have to comment, obviously you said Aboud has joined us from Division 4. He's going to be in the Ferrari. And ERS Major has joined Excel recently, so he's in a new team.
He is, but no bias from the commentary box. I am professional, but we'll not at all be rooting for him this evening. But yes, he is the man we're on board with, and he is going to be the first man to start a lap as he comes through the tricky turn 22-23 complex that claimed a couple of drivers in real life. But we'll head on board now onto the TCAM, and he can take us through the first qualifying lap in Division 5 here at Jeddah Corniche. Slumpcon is disconnected from the session. That's a shame. Hopefully he can get back in, but it's a kinked run towards the line. The track bends to the left, and then you just ease the car to the right-hand side of the track to open up the sort of downhill, tricky braking zone of turns 1 and 2. Major uses all the curb, runs a little bit wide, touch of oversteer there over the painted curbs. Track kinks left turn 3 and then narrows deceptively towards turn 4. You can cut the corner and the inside of turn 5 there, run it all the way over the curb. This 6 and 7 you can take almost as one corner, and Major has gone straight round and he's lost his front wing there. So not a good first lap at all for ERS Major, and it's going to be, instead, as it often is this season, it's going to be the 2 Alpines that are going to be the first drivers to set their laps. But a crucial error there, Packer, from XL Major.
Yeah, not the greatest of ways to start off qualifying. Obviously on the medium tire, not the highest of grips that you could ever want, but those soft tires gonna give you quite a bit of what you need throughout this circuit. So now just heading through this little curvy bit down at the backside of the circuit, just heading into turn, I want to say this is turn 21, just heading up here. Now we head into the final sector through this fast chicane. Very difficult is that chicane, even though it looks quite easy when riding on board, but these drivers doing the best of their ability to keep it inside the white lines and out of the walls. Heading through turn 26 and now down towards the very difficult final corner. It doesn't look too difficult, just looking at the track map, but it's very easy to miss an apex or to hit the wall on the outside, as we saw Max Verstappen do in real life in qualifying. Ben Scott sets the first lap time of the session, a solid 0.6 of a second though in front of his teammate. We usually see Ben Scott and Harry F quite close to each other in the qualifying order, but 0.6 separates the top two as of right now.
Yep, the two Alpines, as is often the way, as I said, first to set lap. So it is a big gap though for Ben Scott, 28.9, not a bad lap at all to get his session underway. We've got Ocon Corrupt, who is invalid, and his teammate who lost his front wing, so no lap coming in there. But we've got TTG Abood, and he smashes Ben Scott by another 0.6 of a second, a 28.3 for the D5 debutant, coming down from D4. And Pack, something I picked up on there, you calling turns 22 and turns 23 a chicane. I was talking to XL Dylan earlier, he was calling it chicane. I will die on the hill that is not a chicane, and it never will be a chicane, and it is wrong to ever call it a chicane, and that is a hill I will spend my life on defending that it's not a chicane. It's a quick change of direction, but a chicane it is not. And I'm rambling because we've got a slight lull in the times here. 13 minutes to go, only 5 driver set times. Ibo crosses the line now, goes within 1/10 of a second of Jamie Met, 4.9 seconds off the pace, and we haven't got anyone close to coming round actually. We've got the two Alpines and Jamie Met in close company. They're just finishing their laps. No one, Packer, seems in any great rush to get out on track, do they? We've got... Oh, and the two Alpines have hit each other there. I think they've done a Hamilton and Verstappen. Ooh. And Harry F has got a 5-second penalty for a 5-place grid penalty for hitting the back of his teammate on the run up to turn 27 through turn 26. That must have been a mirror image of Hamilton and Verstappen on the infamous lap 37 of the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix last year, because that was bizarre. How did he run into the back of his teammate there?
I'm not entirely sure. Well, I guess we kind of knew this was going to come eventually. We saw it from round 1, round 2, round 3. They're all getting quite comfortable, I guess, with being right next to each other out on track. But obviously Saudi Arabia, first time being here, maybe shaking up a few feathers there as Harry F and Ben Scott over in the French garage. But we do have, I think, an Aston Martin just coming to the line. That's Jav, just starting a lap in, well, there's the front wing that we just saw on the exit of turn 27 there. I can't remember the exact name that Jav named his car for Monaco.
Sandra.
For the season. Sandra, there we go. I think we're going to ride on board here with Sandra. A little bit wide, coming through turn 2 and through the left-hander of turn 3, but now dipping into this left-hander turn 4. Very difficult to get right. You can carry quite a bit of speed, but he's going to be invalid. And, yeah, Jav not taking the best of the racing line, I would say, about that one. Anyone else on a lap? I think They Hate Melty's on a lap right now, just heading into turn 1. Very aggressive through the first 2 corners on those track limits, right on the limit as he heads through turn 3. And once again, let's see if we get a mirror image between him and Jeff. 4th gear as he heads through turn 4, now through 5, and now through 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And then you hear through this little kink of 11 and 12. Opening up the DRS, the shortest DRS, well, one of the shortest DRS zones that you will see on the calendar. Now into this banked hairpin of turn 13. You can use the curb on the left. It's not much of a curb. It's just really a painted section of the circuit. Now through turns 14 and then into 15. And this right-hander is 16 and back to the left for 17. Very difficult is that little change of direction chicane or whatever you really want to call it. Very easy to go into the wall on the exit there. Now into turns 19, 20, and 21, and now into 22, 23. You can use a little bit more of the track on the exit there, but obviously first lap of the session, you don't want to be going full, well, you don't want to be pushing all the way to the max. You might end your session prematurely, but now into through turn 26 and into 27. The final quarter, down third, short shift into fourth, to get that traction, then a little bit of a long run to the line with DRS open. Let's see what it's going to be for Melty. Looks to be pretty good. It's a 28.158, and that's going to put Melty on provisional pole position.
Really nice lap from Melty, almost quicker than what I managed in D1 with my P19 qualifying. I dare say Well, actually, I don't dare say, but I'll make a prediction. I don't think They Hate Melty is going to last the season in D5. I think we'll see Melty in D4 before too long, because that was a stunningly calm and controlled lap. We were on board all the way through, and They Hate Melty was really elegant with some of his lines through Sector 1. Wasn't fighting the car too much like we saw with Jav and Major earlier on. He was very much on top of that McLaren. Really nice lap, deserving of pole position. Major does pop in a very slow lap, a 36.3. He's now going for a second one, a quicker one, hopefully, and see if he can throw himself towards the top of the field, because Abood and Melty are very much in their own company right now. They need someone up there to join them. Bigger field spread so far than we've seen anywhere, really, this season, and you can see that Major on board, he's just not got the same composure through those S's, through those fast-flowing corners that Melty had on that previous lap, and he's had to abandon another effort. Presumably he abandoned the last one as well, which is why it was a 36.3. Hit the wall on the first one, lucky to avoid totaling his car, and Major not enjoying himself, and yet he's still in P9 because so many people have not set laps. In fact, only one person behind him is on a lap right now, and that is Riccia coming through that bank turn 13. I'd say admirable effort, Packer, staying on top of those corner numbers all the way through, because I couldn't possibly talk my way through that and think there's too many corners here. And that was nicely done for Riccia through turn 16 and 17 with a darting side eye to have a quick look at the track map there. Here comes 22, the worst corner on the track. We've got a Mercedes that stopped at turn 4. I think that was just getting out of the way. That might have been Ibo. We've got Riccia now coming towards the end of his lap. The only person outside the top 10 who is on track right now. The only person outside the top 9. Everyone's in the pits or retired. We'll see where Riccia shakes out. It's not going to be a particularly quick lap, but it's going to be probably slightly between that serial killer and Jamie met. And indeed it does. Only by a couple of tenths though, but he pops himself into P6.
Yeah, Riccia putting himself into the top 6 there for the Williams driver. Just watching on board with Alex Lilliart. Gracefully cutting the chicane there down through that middle sector. He was up by 3.5 tenths through the first sector, but then I think that kind of invalidated, but not really invalidated his lap time. Let's see, he's up by a second, and he almost runs wide. They're heading through the change of direction of 22 and 23. With DRS open now, here comes the Haas driver. I did catch that slight cut in my POV, so I wonder if he will complete this lap. Just heading through the final hairpin. Short shifting up to 4th gear, as most people will be doing in the race and throughout qualifying. He's coming to the line, no invalidation, so let's see what the lap time is going to be. He improves by 1.5 seconds up to a 32.2, so only really improving by 2 positions, even with that massive of an improvement. But obviously, that just tells you how large the field is spread here in Saudi Arabia. I think TTG Abood is going to be the next one. He's the next one on fresh tires on a flying lap. Just heading through the middle sector now of turn 13. I counted out the corners, and there's only about 17 real corners here instead of the 27. So about 10 corners are just kinks, or really just a straight line. Heading through that looked pretty nice. Ooh, and he's into the wall. Ooh, that's not what you want to be doing. It looks like a light tap, but in the end, that could take off your entire end plate if you're not careful.
If my D1 experience is anything to go by, I hit the wall no less than 4 times there, and very visibly Abood has some damage there. It's a mirror. Just going through Alex Lilliart's lap, I was thinking, we've got the benchmark is a 28.1, and somehow we've got 3 drivers, Riccia, Alex Lilliart and Jamie Met, all chilling very close together, a couple of tenths apart, some 4 seconds off the pace, but they all found their way together in P6, 7 and 8 there. We've got Ibo not too far behind them. We've got Ben Scott not on a lap. He's going very slowly. So have we got anybody on a lap? I think Jamie Met is on a lap, coming towards the last corner now through 26. Never ending turn 26. Turn 27. Don't want to hit the wall on the outside here like Max Verstappen did. You want to get the power down nice and early. All the same though. Straight line it to the line. Hug to the left hand side. He's going into the pits, and I am severely disappointed. We've only got Jav, I think, on a flying lap now, and he's, again, you can see there's some squirming away there. Jav not too happy, having to take having the sign that a driver's not really happy at this track is when they're having to stab the wheel into the corner multiple times. You're having to have multiple bites of the cherry, as it were, to get the car through some of those S sections. You want to be doing it in one sweeping motion. You want to be joining some of those corners up. As Jav catches a McLaren right on the apex there, that's They Hate Melty. That could have been an impeding, and indeed it could be some license points, as Jav makes another little mistake through 16-17. Not having the best time. Those turn 16, turn 22, which we'll come up to now, really catching a lot of drivers out. People are running very wide there, going deep, and they're having to overcorrect. And that overcorrection means they're scrubbing off so much more speed than they should be. And Jav demonstrating again there for us. This is not going to be a particularly amazing lap from Jav, but we'll see if he completes it. It's going to put him fairly respectably up the order, because we've only got 10 drivers, only half the field has set laps. And we've only got 3.5 minutes left. But we'll see where Jav goes. It's going to be around a 1 minute 30, I think. And indeed it is, 30.6. Pops in between Ibo, who's improved to P7. We should give a shout out to Ibo. And Serial Killer in P5, who himself... Oh, look at... Well, this is a sign, Packer, of how the field spread is. Serial Killer is a second slower than Harry, and 7/10 quicker than Jav, although Major just pops in his first quick lap. It's a 29.4 for him.
Yeah, just watching on board, he was about a second faster than Jav through the final sector split, just in before that final change of direction or chicane or whatever you really want to call it. I will continue to call it a chicane. As just watching on board with Harry F heading through the first sector, TTG about, and Jav is sort of in the way, but not really. They were just out and about, really, in front of Harry F. He went a little bit off track, but I don't think it's too much to note. The steward said they were watching that little section around turns 10 to 12, so he might get stewarded if anyone decides to report him, and as I say that, he invalidates through the middle sector chicane, so that lap will not be counting. Then anyone else on a lap right now? I think Jav just on a cooldown. Excel Major has already finished his flying lap on this set of tires. He might be going again, but who knows? I think that's going to be the only person, well, nobody on a lap as of right now. About is heading through the final sector on an out lap. Ricky is also heading through the final sector just now.
We've got Serial Killer on a flying lap, I think. He's squirming away though, wiggling his way through sector 1. We'll see what his first split is like. He's going to be the first person to finish his first lap. And a tenth of a second now, that's not too bad, but then the spread is so much, isn't it, Packer, that really a tenth of a second here, a tenth of a second there isn't going to do too much for you. You need to be finding half of a second, 3/4 of a second for real massive gains.
A little bit wide of the apex there.
And Jav has retired, I think. That's in the pits, and Serial Killer's backed off. So we'll have to have a hunt around for the next driver on lap, and I think it could be Abood. You're absolutely right. And look at that, that's what I was on about earlier on, saying you've got to take these corners if they're one single corner. And 3/10 of a second, a third of a second, Abood finds in sector 1, down to third gear through turn 13, run the car to the outside, hug the wall to straighten the car and get on the accelerator as quickly as possible, ignore turns 14 and 15, chuck it into 16, use all of the curb on the inside, don't let it unsettle you too much, taps the wall. Yep. I think he might have just escaped damage this time, but we've got to go through the kinks. 18, 19, 20, 21. You can't see more than a couple hundred feet in front of you because of those impending walls. And he has just, I think, picked up some damage there because he couldn't throw it through 22. The car didn't want to have it, and he's had to back off, and that is Abood session over.
Yeah, just watched Jamie Met invalidate through the first sector, but now we have Ricky, I think, is going to be the next one on a lap as of right now. Let's see, Ricky through the final corner. P9 right now, 32.1, needs about 6/10 to prove his position. Sir Ibo is on an out lap. He's not going to be making it to the line as the session is already over. Ricky to the line is a 30.6, so that's going to put him into P8. Just 300ths in it between him and Jav for P7. There's anyone else on a lap. Checkered flags have just popped up for me, so maybe my timer is a little bit glitched. I think They Hate Melty is on a lap right now.
Melty's on a lap and isn't improving. As I said, Zero Killer is also on a lap, but he is not going any quicker right now. And that fabulous commitment through 16 and 17, They Hate Melty's really on top of this track compared to some of the other guys in the field, and you can tell that because half of them haven't bothered to set times, and only 6 of them have broken the 1:30 barrier. So only 6 people within half a second or so, a few 4 seconds of D1 pole. They Hate Melty getting away with a cheeky error there through 22 and 23, but I don't think he got damaged, and even if he does, it's not going to harm him too much through turns 27, but he was pushing his luck there. Patient on the throttle, uses all of the outside of the track, yellow flags flashing. It's not going to affect him. He's just got to come across the line now, and it's going to be a 28-0. Melty, Abood, Ben Scott in the end on a 28.395, just 400s off Abood. Those 3 guys very much in a league of their own, Packer. But I'd say the surprise of that session is the fact that only 12 drivers set lap times.
Well, we could get another surprise here as Abood comes across the line on his second flying lap and beats out Melty somehow. I'm not entirely sure how he's done that since he had damage.
He must have avoided the damage. He must have just been a mistake through 22. It must have not been damage at all. But I think we were racing in D1. We saw that Connor and Justas racing away from the field, as we did at Monaco as well. I think we're going to see something similar here with Abood, Melty, if this qualifying's anything to go by, because no one else is anywhere near their pace.
Yeah, Ben Scott near thereabouts-ish, 4/10-ish, 3.5. If you're being generous, behind They Hate Melty, and Melty, about 1/10.5 behind Abood as well. So close up at the front, 1/10.5 between the 2 guys on the front row. Abood just coming down from D4, Melty the reserve driver, so we have a few interesting conditions for those. So Ben Scott, he's been here all season, P3, P4 for the Alpine drivers. Excel Major on his debut for Excel, P5, Serial Killer P6, Akon Corrupt in P7. The 2 Alpha Towers doing not too bad here tonight. Just pull up the stream very quickly, if I can pause it. Alex Illiart going to be in P8 on a 30.6, and then Jab P9, Ricky P10, Ibo P11, and then Jamie Matt in P12, the last of the drivers to set a flying lap on the mediums, interestingly enough. And then we have Slumcon, who I'm not entirely sure if he's in the session or not. I am not very sure. Joseph, P14, Axel, P15, Swip, P16, Marcy, P17, Emperor Rub, and Bellon, the 2 Switzerland drivers? That's Switzerland, right? I think it is. 18 and 19, and then MCFC in P20 with no time. P13 to P20, not setting lap times.
Only 2 drivers came within a second of pole, and only 5 drivers came within 2 seconds of pole. And yes, indeed, Packer, that is the Swiss flag. A terrible indictment there of the American public education system, if you had to second guess whether that was the Swiss flag.
I just had to make sure. I didn't want to embarrass myself.
Oh, you embarrassed yourself by making sure, my guy. So, I think we're going to see a pretty strung out race. I don't want to be too much of a downer from the get-go, but based on the times from qualifying, I mean, we've got 8 unknowns in the field. They're the 8 drivers who didn't set laps. But notwithstanding those, we're going to have to rely on some safety cars here to keep the drivers bunched together. We're not going to see trains like we saw in D1. And in fact, look at that, the top 16 all on softs. Just Marcy, Bell on MCFC on mediums, Emperor on hards. I sincerely hope he enjoys those. Coming back from a 2-race ban and a 1-race absence is Emperor. We welcome him back into the division, and he's elected to go straight onto hards, which interesting call. Never change, Emperor RUB. Never change.
Yeah, interesting decision there, because the favorite strategy, only being 25 laps, of course, is this circuit, and you can run quite low tire pressures as well, as tire wear is not too much of an issue, even with the high-speed nature of the circuit, is the soft-medium strategy, or the medium-soft, for the 3 drivers outside of the top 10 who elected for it, Marcy, Bellon, and MCFC. They're going to be going to around lap 15-ish before you want to be pitting for the softs, and then for the other 16 drivers on the grid, you're going to be going to around lap 10. That is the game recommended lap to pit, so going to be pitting around then. For mediums, take those 15 laps to the end of the race, and then I have no idea what Emperor is going to be doing. Hards to any lap, really, and you can go on to whatever tire you want to.
Yeah, I think he'll have to be hard soft for Emperor, unless he must be foreseeing a two-stop for everybody else who starts on the mediums, but we shall see. So it's going to be Abood and Melty, and then Ben Scott, ever near the front, ever not finishing near the front. For one reason or another. Mage is going to be an interesting one. Struggled in qualifying quite significantly, but still managed to pull the lap out when he needed it, and picking up P4, first race representing XL, of course, this week. Serial Killer 5th. Ocon Corrupt, perhaps possibly a little bit out of position as well. We know he's got some great qualifying pace. Behind him, Harry F, an interesting one. Slumpcom as well, who I do believe... Oh, he's not in the lobby because he's ghosted, so Slumpcom will not be racing. Axel, who had a qualifying ban, he's in 15th, so we'll see what he can do. He's had a couple of good qualifying sessions lately. Marcy, who won in pre-season, he's someone to look out for as well. So there's lots of people all the way through the field that could spring a surprise. I mean, of course, I said 8 of them did not set qualifying times for one reason or another. But Packer, what's your top 3? Or make it easy for you, who's your winner? Pick a winner, and are they coming from the front row? If it's not, it'll have to be a big shock.
I'm going to go with Melty here, I think. I haven't seen Aboud race here in League of Europe. Obviously, it was in Division 4, but we commentate over Division 5, so I haven't watched too much of his races. But just going based solely off the fact that he finished Monaco with no damage to my memory, I'm going to go with Melty to win here.
I will back you on that one. We'll see. So it's going to be Melty versus Aboud on the front row. The D5 reserve versus the D4 relegatee, and it's going to be Aboud on your left, Melty on your right. Aboud's on pole. We're underway for the Jeddah Grand Prix for the first time in League of Europe, and in fact Ben Scott's got a cracking start, and he's straight through the middle, and there's collision. Major sprung a surprise up the inside there, got pinched on the apex, immediately took Major with him. And, well, it's still Aboud and Melty that lead away. Sorry, it was Ben Scott that got taken out. He's down to P16, but it's Aboud, Melty, Serial Killer. Ocon Corrupt up from P4 to P6 to P4. Alex Lilliard at 5th. Jav's made a couple of places up as well. We've got the yellow flags flying in the background. We've got a McLaren all the way down. That's Jamie Met. Ibo's lost quite a handful of places, but it's Aboud who leads as they come through turn 13 for the first time. And I think we've got another clash at the back. We've got all sorts going on side by side, and what is that from Marcy? A double dive up the inside of turn 13. I wonder if Ricky's got damage. I think Ben Scott must have damage with his turn 1, and we've got a big gap back to Bellon. Major, who has got damage as well. He's going to let MCFC go, is he? And Major's very slow off 16 and 17 there. We've got a couple of battles all the way down the field, but Packer up front, the top 2 have done an absolute runner here from Serial Killer, who already has a penalty.
Yeah, Serial Killer with that early penalty, not going to be helping himself later on into this race. Ooh, Axel and Joseph getting into the side of each other, and they're collecting Marcy as well. I'm not entirely sure how Marcy survived that. Axel has damage. Swip, I think, has damage. I know Jav has damage. Ibo was causing some chaos.
Joseph's got no front wing.
Yeah, Ibo was causing some chaos at the back in the first sector because he was missing an end plate. Joseph just getting squeezed into the wall, looking to the inside through that long left-hander that's about 3 corners, getting squeezed by Ricky into the wall there. Bellon and MCFC. MCFC coming up from the back on these medium tires, already up into P10 around the outside of Bellon. We saw Max Verstappen do this in the real-life Grand Prix, but able to pull off a little bit cleaner than the real-life driver did. And he's going to be up into P10, and I would say that's a pretty legal move. Ricky at P9, Swip P8, doesn't look to have any damage. I don't think Ben Scott picked up any damage, maybe a little bit on his floor or his rear wing because who was it? Excel Major throwing one up the inside, just got tagged on the rear end. Did Ben Scott, just got pinched into the wall. Slumcon still in P6 even though he's not in the lobby. Harry F up to P5 after his 5 plays grid penalty, of course, after collision with his teammate in qualifying. Akon Corrupt up to P4, Serial Killer in P3, and then About, who's been overtaken by Melty here early on. So second lap of the Grand Prix, and things have shaken up throughout the field, but the top two still there.
So 7 people pitted at the end of the first lap, and only 3 drivers now are within a second of come front. That's Joseph, MCFC, Harry, and in fact Abood as well. So that makes it 4. We've got a nice battle going on for the lead though, and thankfully these guys may have run away from those behind them, but they are sticking in very close company together. We're starting lap 3. We're going to have some DRS in effect now. Those early pit stops have had the effect of really separating the field. Fastest lap for Harry F is 32.9. Ben Scott, the other Alpine, immediately improves on that to a 32.5. So some good pace throughout the field. We'll see what Abood can do now with some DRS. We've got a three-way battle towards the last corner. It's Alex Illiart versus Joseph versus Marcy. Marcy just trying to get out of that one and have a watch. And Alex Illiart and Joseph nearly spiraling into each other there with some poor traction. And here comes Marcy down the outside of the pair of them. He had his ERS in effect to get past Alex Illiart. Is he going to send it up to Joseph into turn 1? Remember, these two crashed chaotically at Austria a couple of weeks ago. Marcy comes out of that one on top. Double overtake for him. But let's jump to the front of the field because we've got that DRS in the Abood only just hanging into it. Melty, he's running away a little bit on this lap. 1 second between the two of them. But what are you seeing, Packer?
Well, Melty 67, 65% ERS as we head into this little change of direction under the building there, just above Abood. Not using his ERS, and just because of that, he's not going to be within DRS range. He's not even using it going down towards the hairpin. He really should be as he gets on the button now. Melty using a little bit as well, but that gap I don't think is going to be quite close enough unless he has a good hairpin. But Harry, Akon Corrupt swapping positions as well down towards turn 27. It's going to be a very pretty easy overtake for Harry F. These two, I'm sure if they can work together, would like to leapfrog onto the back of Serial Killer. MCFC and Ricky getting close together just in behind Swip. Ricky goes a little bit deep, but MCFC on these medium tires has made it great progress, and he's going to be making his way past Ricky. He doesn't have DRS though, so the Williams driver is going to be coming back at the Red Bull, looking to the outside. MCFC gives him a little bit of a bluff, but they're going to be going side by side down towards turn 1. The Williams driver braking late, but not late enough, as MCFC sends it into turn 1. Will keep P9.
Started P20 to MCFC. He's now up to P9, as you say. Jav passes Alex Illiart into the last corner, but I think Alex Illiart is going to get him straight back here because Jav has left himself with no DRS. Alex Illiart on the softs is going to come round the outside towards turn 1. He's going to be safely ahead by the time he gets anywhere near the braking zone. Jav pulls out for a little look, and Jav's going to try and fight this one back. Alex Illiart gives him the space. He's got the inside line. He's got to take a tighter, slower line through turn 2. Through the kink of 3. They're going to be side by side towards 4. Jav, if he's got any sense, will back out of this one, and he does, but Axel does well not to hit the back of him. So we've got that Swip MCFC Ricky battle. That's our big battle on track right now. Abood, though, has just snuck back into the DRS of They Hate Melty up front. We'll keep an eye on that one. Penalty for Axel Illiart, penalty for Jav, and here comes Swip having to defend now from MCFC. Ricky's just dropped off a little bit, but there's going to be some DRS in effect. This is a DRS zone, actually, where they are now. They approach 22, and real life is not one in the game. So there's one between turns 10 and 13. But here comes MCFC. Now he's going to go around the outside of turn 26 towards 27. And is he going to get ahead by the braking zone here? Swip's just going to sit back on that one, but then Swip will get DRS back towards turn 1. You get such a yo-yo effect with the DRS here. Ben Scott's into the pits. He's going to be the first scheduled stopper.
Early.
I think very early indeed. And here comes Swip now back towards turn 1. In fact, the bigger thing is Rick, you can have a look at an overtake here. No, he's not. He's too far back. This time, Swip goes a little bit deep into turn 1. MCFC will try and cut back underneath him, but there's nothing going there. They swap places, and it's as you were a lap ago. Abood, 8/10 now within Melty. So Melty looked like he'd stretching his leg to 1.1 seconds. Abood has just brought it back in. You have to say Serial Killer not really able to get anywhere near these guys' pace right now. In fact, the top 6 look pretty set right now. And MCFC and Swip must have made a mistake there coming out of turn 10, because Can't see how else MCFC could have got the move done that early down the straight. Where's our big battle right now? We've got a battle with Emperor and Ben Scott. Ben Scott, of course, who's already pitted, getting ahead into turn 13, and Emperor on those hard tyres getting out of Marcy's way, who sneaks through. We've seen already that Marcy's a bit of a man on a mission, and Emperor on those hard tyres not enjoying life particularly, nor is his teammate, who's now 10 seconds behind Ricciardo. But it's lap 5, Packer, and Abood half a second behind Melty.
Yeah, let's hop on board with that battle. We do still have MCFC Swip. Swip dropping back as Ricky looking to attack the Aston Martin. Now Swip didn't have any DRS, and he's just going to back off. Ricky is going to be up in front of the Aston Martin now. Is he going to be close enough to get DRS? That's going to be the question. He's on his ERS, but not quite close enough to the back of the Red Bull. Just a few hundredths in it for him and Ricky. Ricky using his ERS off the exit of the final corner there. Swip going to be close and not quite close enough. He's not going to go down the inside like his teammate did just a few laps ago, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, Swip will stay P9 for the time being. Ricky out of DRS currently of MCFC. So MCFC and the Red Bull looking to make, is making some pretty decent progress in this race already. Made a mistake through the first sector on the previous lap, but was still able to make that move on Swip heading into turn 13. But yeah, Melty and Abood just heading through the first sector now as Joseph and Emperor are swapping position. Joseph into turn number 4 is able to get that move done. I think Emperor might just have the slightest amount of damage. It looks like he may be understeering just a little bit. I think he might just do, as he's all over the circuit, and now he's going to have a few more cars coming up behind him. That's going to be Jab, Axel, and ERS Majors. Ben's got a Bell swapping positions through turn 13 as Alex Lilliard has picked up another time penalty that's going to be 6 to his name in 6 laps. So a warning per lap on average about for Alex Lilliard. But yeah, Ben Scott up into P10, and Marcy looking around the outside. I think he's going to be able to get this one done. He's on his ERS button. He's almost out of ERS, as you can see that red flashing light on the back of his Mercedes. He's going to have that position done. Just think for Marcy. So Marcy into P11, 2 points for to his name so far. Still quite a whiles to go in this race. The Serial Killer and Harry F battling as well.
Yeah, in amongst that, Serial Killer had been overtaken by Harry F. Harry F now under pressure himself from the Red Bull, who is flying the flag for Red Bull today with the energetics not here. But you can see the difference as Jav gets past Emperor. You can just see the difference in commitment through Sector 1 and confidence as well. Serial Killer slips back from Harry F, but then gets a nice dose of DRS, which really helps him out a bunch towards turn 13. Further up, we've got a bit of SlumpCon and MCFC. SlumpCon actually ghosted because he's not in the lobby, so it's just because he hadn't pitted up into P6. MCFC continues his charge through the field from P20. He's now up into P6. Is the reserve driver doing very nicely today. Often so far we've seen him this season struggled in qualifying and coming away making big gains in the opening laps because he stayed out of trouble, and he's up into P6. Further ahead, Serial Killer and Harry F still in very close company, but Harry F pulling away through there. Serial Killer had to have a couple of bites at turns 22 and 23. Struggled to commit. But look how much he's gaining now with the DRS towards the last corner. This is going to set up a nice overtake attempt, I'm sure, into turn 1. Takes a bit of a deeper line so he can straighten the car nice and early. Neither of them have got too much airs left, but Harry F is using down the main straight as much as he can. But we'll see, has he got enough overspeed Serial Killer to make a move towards turn 1? Harry F is going to cover the middle of the road, defend some fresh air. Serial Killer will have a look around the outside. He'll brake very deep, very late, but not late enough, not close enough for a move this time. And Harry F, I think, is safely got him covered through Sector 1. Have we got any other battles anywhere else? I'm not too sure. You know, we've got no one really within DRS apart from that Serial Killer Harry F battle, and SlumpCon's Ghost doing admirably well in P7. Axel and Major, though, swap places in the last corner, and there's a lot of damage across the track. Joseph has lost his front wing. Ladies and gents, he's had a crash at the last corner, all by his lonesome, it looks like. And he's going to have to do a whole lap now without a front wing. And I wonder if we'll see him retire in the pits if he is such a way inclined. But he could well cause a headache here for Jav and Major if they catch him at just the wrong part of the track. In fact, he could have caused a headache for everybody here because he's crashed on track, couldn't get the car around the corner. Is that a yellow flag? And is that going to be a safety car? Sadly, Packer, I think not.
Ooh, well, that kind of saves Melty and About, unlike, well, if they didn't have the pace to pull away from the field once again. 10 seconds is their lead, collectively over Harry F. Quite a decent gap, I would say. A Serial Killer now moves up into third place, getting a little bit on the top two, but not too much, as a Serial Killer will jump past Harry F. Harry F now looking with the DRS, going to be looking to the outside of Serial Killer. Interesting. The inside line usually favored here into turn one. Serial Killer will break late and will be able to defend that position a little bit deep through turn two, but he's going to get the exit. Harry F looking for the switchback, but not going to be able to pull that one off. Just looking back up to the front, though, they hate Melty and About, still battling it out for DRS. Melty on around, every time I've checked in with him, he's been around 75-ish percent ERS, but about 100%. He's not using his ERS.
Yeah, I think they're just conserving up front right now. There's not too much to be gained, I suppose, by burning. Aboud's probably just happy to sit behind and wait for something to happen at the pit stops. We saw a change of position at the back. That was Major, who's coming into the pits as MTFC gets a penalty. So Major changing from the mediums. He must have damage to come in off the mediums this early. And indeed, I think they are preparing a new front wing for him at the AlphaTauri pit lane. And they are. Alex Hilliard is going to follow him into the pits. He's pitting from softs. I think this is a scheduled stop. No, it's not. Another front wing beckons for the Haas man. And up front, our gap is now 1.2 seconds. And it remains that the big battle on track, Serial Killer versus Harry F. And I think we're going to see Packer. I think we're going to see them swap places again towards turns 27, because here comes Harry F. around the outside of Serial Killer, and he'll be ahead. But will he still be ahead come the exit of turn one is the big question. And I think Serial Killer has played this well enough that he stayed nice and close. Jamie retires in the pits, and in fact, Serial Killer's coming into the pits. He's going to box. He's going to get off those soft tyres. He's going to try and make a big gain on the undercut. I'm surprised we've not seen Aboud or Melty do the same. But a nice aggressive strategy from Serial Killer. That's what we like to see.
Yeah, into the pits on lap 9, one lap earlier than the game suggests. So I'd imagine some drivers would be, or most drivers coming into the pit lane from the soft tires. Obviously, besides Ben Scott, who's already pitted onto a set of another set of soft tires from his original set. So that's interesting. Just looking for where he came out, unless I'm completely blind. Serial Killer is out into P8 on those fresh medium tires. 2.1 seconds in front of him is Slumpcon, who's obviously not in the lobby, so it's really what about trying to do some quick math here? 2.5-ish seconds between him and Ricky now in P6. So Serial Killer catching quite quickly here. If we switch it to the leader interval, 32 seconds, almost exactly to They Hate Melty in the lead of this race, and he's catching very slowly. So not quite close enough to get an undercut on the top two, but I think he will be. Just maybe, pulling off quite the large undercut on Harry F. is if the Alpine driver's not in the pit lane. And just talking about coming into the pit lane, Melty and Aboud, neither of them are in.
Hey, I think you're right. I think Serial Killer is going to pull a big undercut on Harry F., who see if he comes into the pits, and indeed he does. But Serial Killer was about 18 seconds behind Harry F. at the start of the lap when he came out of the pits. He's now 17. And I don't think Slumpcon is actually disconnected. I think he's just desynced, which is why he's ghosted. He's far too quick for a ghost on whatever AI I set it on. But here comes Serial Killer. We've got a yellow flag. That's just Ivo, I think, getting out of the way towards turn one. But let's have a look how close we are between Serial Killer and Harry F. In fact, we're not close at all. Harry F. is some way in the mirrors of Serial Killer. We've got a yellow flag. That is for XL Major, who's having a bit of a horror show. He's had some kind of shenanigan at turn 16. He's come a cropper there, and he's slipped back. He's now 90 seconds off the lead as Ben Scott passes Slumpcon for P8. I'm going to treat Slumpcon as if he's in the lobby, because he must be with the pace that car is showing. And in fact, look at this. We've got Serial Killer up the inside of Ricky towards turn 13. He needed to make that move on the fresh tyres, and he did, and that gives him a crucial buffer back to Harry F., who is now over a second behind him when they had been nose to tail for so long. Ocon Corrupt inherits P3 in the process, but 22 seconds nearly behind Aboud. The top two, both of whom are coming into the pits. Packer very much in a class of their own right now. Let's see what they're going to go on to. It's mediums for Melty, it must be mediums for Abood, and it is. So it's going to be as you were, but on some fresh tyres towards the end of the race now. A straight fight between these two, pitting on the same lap, and they've got 13 laps to settle their differences.
Yeah, they went about halfway on those soft tires, so going about just a little bit longer than halfway on this set of medium tires. It shouldn't be too much of a struggle for these two drivers. Been class of the field so far in this one. Serial Killer making his way, as Harry F is actually somehow made his way right onto the back of Serial Killer. That one lap fresher tires shouldn't have been playing too much to his advantage, but looking to do something good for him as Ricky has been into the pit lane, as well as Slumpcon going onto a set of medium tires, that is, for the Haas garage, as well as Ricky onto a medium.
I think Serial Killer's got damage. Serial Killer's got damage. Sorry to cut across you back, but he was going so slowly. And Ben Scott, following this little gaggle, has got himself a penalty. But he could be having a look at his teammate towards turn 13. But yeah, Serial Killer's definitely got damage. He was very slow through sector 1. Either that or he just made a mistake that cost him so much time. We'll have a look at how he turned into turn 16. He's having a little wiggle down the kinky straight there. And yeah, you can see from the understeer, he's definitely got damage. He clatters the wall on the exit at 17. And Harry F is going to say thank you very much. And he's into the net P3, so that was very costly for Serial Killer. He's in such a great position with that undercut, but he's going to have to make another pit stop now.
Yeah, Serial Killer is going to be heading to the pit line. It doesn't look too bad for the Red Bull driver. Obviously, that last hit on the wall, not exactly doing him too many favors. But Ben Scott is not necessarily the worst thing in the world. If Serial Killer heads into the pit lane, I would be quite tempted to follow him in if I were Ben Scott. Obviously, being on those soft tires, you're going to have to pit again. Doing 2 soft stints so far in this race, and also, if I was Marcy, I would be following them in as well as Akon Corrupt into the pit lane. I think that was someone else in the pit lane. That's Sir Ivo down at the back of the field. And Akon Corrupt onto a set of mediums. Also, just by the way, MCFC has headed into the pit lane on that previous lap, or just coming to the end of his out lap here. Set of the soft compound tires. So looking to catch up to Akon Corrupt, who's just hitting pit exit, currently P8. For the Red Bull reserve driver is MCFC.
I think you're right. It's not too bad for Serial Killer, but it's when you're through this section here that you can it really stands out. He's got DRS from the back of Harry F, but I think Ben Scott's going to have enough grip to go straight around the outside of him in through turn 13. That's a gutsy move, and they're going to be side by side all the way through the exit through 14 and 15. And but surely Serial Killer can't fight that into 16. And indeed, he does have to concede. But look who's caught up to them. Marcy has found his way into this battle, pitted 10 laps ago. He's on his 11th lap on this set of tyres. But he's going to have to take them a long way, but he's kind of dragged his way just through sheer speed into a battle here for P3. He's 10 seconds ahead of Akon Corrupt, who's having a very lonely race back there. Fastest laps traded between the top two, and in fact we're going to see an overtake here. I think we've got Abood round the outside into turn 1. Melty covers him off nicely, just strong arms him out the way through turns 1 and 2, but Abood is he's woken up and he's after an overtake here. Let's quickly drop back to that battle with Serial Killer and Marcy. Here comes Marcy down the outside towards turn 1. He's got some nice slipstream from Ben Scott. Ben Scott's derating away. Serial Killer, how hard is he going to fight this one with damage? And in fact, he's going to fight it very hard. Marcy has to take a super tight line through 2, side by side, almost towards 3. Marcy switches back to the inside for 4. This is a bold overtake if he could pull it off, but he does. He stiffs his arm, shoves Serial Killer out of the way, and Serial Killer has to concede. And Ben Scott's made a mistake ahead of him, just ahead, had a big wobble through turns 8 and 9, and look at Marcy could get a second place here towards turn 13. Ben Scott's going to cover the inside line. Marcy's going to send this straight round the outside of the hairpin, is he? He has to back out of that one. But that was some brave racing between Marcy and Serial Killer. And I think it's a matter of time now before Marcy passes the Alpine of Ben Scott. We've got a Mercedes off at the back. I think that's Ibo, because we're on board with Marcy. It must be, yeah, Ibo's made some kind of mistake at 13. And here comes Marcy. He's not waiting for the DRS zone. He's going to get past to walk in the tricky braking zone, the changing direction of 22. Ben Scott bravely makes a decision to get out of the way, but Marcy made a very slow off the corner. He's got no ERS left at all. Ben Scott's got a smidgen just to use, and he's coming back up the inside of 26 now, and Marcy can't fight him back unless he fancies a full send into the last corner. Not on this occasion, but he's going to get the position back with some more DRS towards turn 1. And Serial Killer's just watching this, hoping something's going to happen. Ben Scott comes into the pits, but Marcy's now very vulnerable to Serial Killer. And the Serial Killer fancy getting a bit of revenge for the previous lap? No, I don't think so, not with that damage. But he's staying with this nicely, isn't he, Serial Killer? He's got that damage, but it's not dissuading him at all from having to go at some overtakes.
Yeah, it doesn't look too bad at all, does it, for Serial Killer? Just while that battle was happening, Bellon went straight into the back of Jab down at turn 1, picked up some very nice left end plate damage as well, sent Jab off the track, gave him a 3-second time penalty as well, and now the two Aston Martins are fighting out on track. Swip passing Jab down into turn 27, Jab backing off here, not looking to attack Swip, but he also has Axel up his inside here into turn 1. Around the outside of turn 2 goes the Williams driver, a little bit of a slide from the Aston Martin and Jab for turn 3, and now into turn 4. Axel not exactly ahead, he's alongside, he's going to have to give Jab a little bit of room. Surprised they were able to get through that corner without having anyone fly off the side of the circuit, and I think my controller's broken because I can't switch between anybody. Never mind, it just fixed itself. Anyways, yeah, Jab able to keep in front of Axel for the time being using his ERS. He was unable to get DRS off of his teammate going down towards turn 13, but I think that that is going to be that
top
battle
two, sorry.
over for the time being. The top two going almost going side by side into turn 1. Abood getting very close to the back of Melty going into turn 1, but Melty has coped with the pressure so far and still has a very decent amount of ERS, as Abood still on a high amount as well. As Bellon with that damage has crashed through the first sector. Is that going to be a safety car? It doesn't look like it yet, as Emperor Rub has spun through the first sector as well. The two Alfa Romeos not having the greatest times tonight. And it looks like it's just going to be a yellow flag. No safety car, no VSC here tonight through 16 laps into 3 retirements.
When do the Alfa Romeos have the greatest of nights? Let's not kid ourselves here. But yeah, it looked like Abood was about ready to sell Melty a very late dummy turn 1. He swung across the left side of the track, but then wasn't close enough to commit to the send. But 7 tenths of a second, the gap has stayed pretty consistently under a second now, and Abood's just waiting for his moment. 6 tenths of a second towards 22. That's such a crucial corner because it sets up a double overtake opportunity. First into the last corner, then into turn 1, and Abood's come out of this half a second behind Melty. He's going to put himself in a prime position here to get a move done towards turn 1, because look how close they're going to be towards the last corner. Although Abood goes very deep, that's going to compromise him a lot towards turn 1. Penalty for Jav. In fact, that little shimmy from Melty, he sold one to Abood, and Abood was just thrown by it. Made a mistake under braking, went a little bit wide, and that has cost him everything he needed to have a chance. And I'm taking it's going to be another lap before we see any change of position, with 9 to go now up front. Harry F still in P3, 20 MCFC seconds behind them. Yeah, we've got these guys side by side towards the last corner. MCFC is going to sneak through, continuing his good race. Marcy comes into the pits. He is going to make a 2-stop out of this, but he's only going to lose a couple of places. He can lose 1 to Serial Killer, 1 to MCFC, 1 to Ocon Corrupt, and 1 to Ben Scott. But is Ocon Corrupt going to come back now? And indeed he is, with the DRS. It's almost too easy to overtake, or to be overtaken and then just overtake back into turn 1. But he goes a bit deep with Ocon Corrupt, and MCFC's have a sneaky look through 3 towards 4. But there's nothing going there unless you're in lane as QVR Campbell. And although Ocon Corrupt was very slow through there, MCFC is on the quicker tyres, he's on fresh softs, and you can see how much more confidence he's got through this S section. He's having to back off and pushes Ocon Corrupt through turns 11 and 12 there, and in fact Ocon's just going to back off, and I wonder if Ocon, did he hit a wall or something? Did he get some damage? Because he was very slow and was also very willing to give the place up, as Marcy and Ben Scott are in close company now. These two have had a couple of battles this season. They're going to be side by side through 16. But not on this time. Marcy just sneaks out ahead on that one. But 4 tenths per second, in fact, is the battle for the lead. We're going to jump straight to that, and here comes Abood. Yes, set up the overtake this time. Melty covers the inside line, and Abood's going to go very late and deep towards turn 1. But again, Melty just puts his car in all the right places of the racetrack. Abood has to settle for P2 for another lap. 8 to go.
Yeah, it's go here in Saudi Arabia. They hate Melty still leading this race. He's led from the beginning, hasn't given up the lead, I don't think, for any short amount of time. So looking to lead every lap here if he's able to keep it in front of Boud. Still P1, P2 for these two, and they've been dueling it out all race long, and hopefully they will be able to keep it clean to the end of this race as well. Akan Corrupt and MCFC getting close once again down into turn 1, but I think MCFC on those soft tires just able to keep enough of a gap open so that he won't get attacked too severely. The two Aston Martins getting close once again. Jav and swapped positions on the previous lap into the final corner, and then swapped once again into turn 1, and Jav will be into the pit lane now for his second pit stop of this race, I do believe. That will put him just barely outside of the points. I think Axel might just get a slight undercut on him just pitting onto that set of soft tires. Actually, Jav getting a front wing change, so that would definitely explain his pit stop there. Marcy and Akan Corrupt getting close. Now Akan Corrupt falling off the back of MCFC, and Marcy closing up as there's an Alfa Romeo. That's going to be Emperor Rub, who's causing some yellow flags here through this middle sector. The Mercedes in the Alpha Tower getting close once again, but let's look up at the front of Boud and Melty. He needs to go to the outside or the inside to get this. Oh, that's late from Melty. Contact between the two race leaders. They hate Melty locking up into turn 1, going deep, having the compromise line through turn 1 and 2, now through 3 on the exit. Boud's going to be on the outside, going into 4, using a little bit of VRS as the Ferrari drive. They keep it side by side through 4, now through 5. Boud's just going to have to back off. He was on the outside. He didn't have the lead in that battle. Melty might get stewarded for that late move into turn 1. Boud sold him to the outside, went back to the left. It's almost like what we saw in 2018, Daniel Ricciardo, Max Verstappen at Azerbaijan. It looked very, very, very similar.
If I was a Boud, I'd be feeling very aggrieved right now. That was naughty from Melty. He did move a couple of times, so close to the braking zone as well. Luckily, Boud's not come out of it with damage, but he's now got smoke in his ears. He's steaming away. He's not hanging about anymore. He's so close to the back of Melty, sticking within 3/10. He's going to be so close through 22 and 23. If he's not going to get the move done into 27, he's going to get it done in turn 1. Emperor hasn't made another mistake. He's got about 3 yellow flags in the last 3 laps. It's going to be 0.4 per second, so I think Boud set himself up nicely here for a move towards turn 1, but that was a flashpoint. And the first in this race. Might we see another in the last 6 laps? 0.3 per second is the gap. Melty covers the inside line, has to move back to the outside just to open the corner up a bit for him. It's going to be half a second as a Boud's gap. I don't think he's close enough, and he's not using his ERS either. So maybe Boud has just calmed down and he's settled for P2 for another lap, but he shapes out. Just have a look at the inside of turn 1, just to scare Melty a little bit, who nearly spears into the outside wall at turn 3 there with a little mistake on traction, and you can see both drivers just having a couple of shaky moments through turns 1 and 2. They've stretched their gap over Harry F to 24 seconds now as Axel and Jav are swapping places down. What's that for? P12. Both of those guys are fresh softs, along with XL Major. We've got MCFC and Marcy very close towards turn 1. Penalty for Jav, as you say. But yeah, Packer, we're going battle again, and Boud he's sticking nicely within half a second here, but he needs to nail the last corner. That's where he's losing his time, I think. That's where he's costing himself, and he's hit the wall in a straight line towards turn 22. No damage there, you can see from his commitment through 22, but Boud looks, I'm not sure if he looks rattled, but he does look angry.
Yeah, I was going to say, Melty, that move, that turn 1 just a few laps ago, possibly one of the worst things that you can do to someone who's been chasing you down all race. Get them that a little bit angry, just a little bit more motivation. There was a front wing there on the exit of the final corner. I think that was someone into the pit lane. That might have been Jav, I want to say. There was an Aston Martin just heading into the pit lane. Yes, that is Jav for a new front wing and a new set of tires. And also, he has 21 seconds of penalties, all 3 seconds, I do believe. Alex Olliard getting lapped by MCFC as XL Major sets the fastest lap of the race by about 1/10 of a second, taking it from Boud, who set it just a few laps ago. But yeah, now you can see Boud definitely has damage. Look how much he's losing through that first sector. fifth gear, just heading through these S's and through turns 10, 11, 12 now, opening up the DRS, barely holding on to that DRS. I think those few mistakes, that touch on the wall, I've seen him do it a few times in this race, lucky to get away with it, but I don't think he's gotten away with it this time, and you can see just through the understeer, through turn 13, yeah, he's really struggling now as a Ferrari driver, and I think that's going to be his chance of winning this race almost done, unless Melty makes a mistake in these coming laps.
I'm not sure that's going to happen. And I think the sign that Aboud has got damaged is that he's having to use his ERS. He hadn't touched it at all. Now suddenly he's down to 73% just from this lap alone. And you can see from the overhead cam there how much he was struggling to get the car turned in to turn 23. But he is using his ERS now. He's going for it. And, well, he's going to close right up towards the McLaren into the last corner. But again, he needs, for once, to get a good exit, and again he goes a little bit deep, and it's gonna not unsettle him, but it's gonna compromise him all the way down the straight because he's not being able to stick close enough to the last corner to have a go towards turn 1. It's 0.3 of a second. Is he going to send it just very late and deep here? No, he's not, but Melty will be feeling threatened in his mirrors. We've got a yellow flag, and that is Jav is retired, and we've got we've got a 2-lap battle for the end of the race. And now,
wait, Aboud can get his he can get his damage fixed.
Aboud has got a pit stop behind him, and now this is the question: if Melty pits, Aboud gets track position, but if Melty stays out, Aboud's got a free stop. Ooh. Harry F pits, Marcy stays out, Serial Killer stays out, MCFC pits, Ocon Corrupt pits. So Marcy and Serial Killer have gained big here on track position, but let's look at the penalties. Both got a penalty. That's going to cost them in the long run. Everyone else behind them is coming into the pits. Front wing change for Ben Scott. Ricky is staying out. Serial Killer gets another penalty under safety car, just to compound his woes of having stayed out. So let's see what the leading two do. If would Melty pit knowing that Aboud could stay out? There's going to be no DRS. DRS.
I think he needs to, honestly. Well, if he doesn't, and Aboud pits, gets his damage fixed, puts on a fresh set of soft tires, what is Melty going to do to defend against that?
Aboud,
and Melty stays out.
Aboud just has to do the opposite of Melty. Melty couldn't win in that situation. Because if Melty stays out, Aboud gets track position, knows there's no DRS, will probably be quite confident that he could make that change. Hold that position. But then if Melty pits, Aboud can stay out and, sorry, I've got my words tangled there. Melty pits, Aboud could have easily stayed out and got track position. And if Melty stayed out, well, Aboud could have just pitted like he did with no risk of losing a position behind. So, but the thing is, Packer, it's going to be safety car in this lap. How many people are actually going to catch up to the safety car by the time it comes in?
I imagine Aboud would. Marcy should as well, but Serial Killer came into the pit lane to get a front wing change. So that kind of changes things up. I think Harry F will be on the very edge of catching it, because the safety car seems to be going relatively slow. Obviously, through that first sector is going to be going quite slow with all the corners and the most technical bit on the circuit. But now through the back end of this circuit, through the final sector, that's where all the high-speed bits really are, where there aren't many actual corners, just a few kinks here and there. So Aboud has caught up to the safety car. Marcy should as well. 5-lap-old soft tires for him in that one penalty. So, yeah, that's going to help. Well, if anything, I think this kind of helps Marcy, able to gain a few positions after people pitting, obviously still with that penalty not helping him too much. I think he'll be able to catch up just enough here, just heading through the few last corners here. Safety car in this lap, obviously, because you can't go really past. They have to allow at least 2 laps of racing. on the F1 game. But now this is interesting because it's Melty, Aboud, and then there's 2 lap cars in Axel and ERS or Excel Major. Obviously, not going to affect Marcy too much because he's not really fighting for position with the top 2. If anything, that just protects the lead the top 2 have. Harry F just catching up to the back of them now, but it's going to be Ibo. He's overtaking Ibo for whatever reason. I'm not entirely sure why, but let's get up to the front 2. It's going to be Melty versus Aboud. Melty 10-lap old medium tires, 11 laps going on to this next lap. And Melty,
no!
Melty's out!
Oh, and Axel slammed into the back of Aboud there. Axel comes into the pits. What on earth happened there? Melty, 23 perfect laps. And he slams into the wall at the last corner with 2 laps to go. It's Aboud from a lapped major. Harry F is now P2. Packer, what just happened?
I think my chin just hit the floor. I have absolutely no idea what we just saw. All I know, Aboud's leading this race. Now, Melty's out. He's down to he's in P10 obviously right now. Still a few cars coming through to take those positions in the end. Excel Major fighting for the race lead. Obviously, Ghosted being a lap down. Marcy's right on the back of Aboud now. If Aboud, I think, has a little bit of damage. So going straight back to the position he was in, really, just a few laps ago, before making that pit stop under safety car, he has the damage. He kind of has to keep Marcy behind here. Obviously, a 6-lap tire advantage for Aboud, but Marcy is going to have that advantage with the no damage. Harry F goes not too close. I'm not entirely sure what happened to Harry F. Maybe just trying to avoid the carnage has kept him a P3 for the time being, but he needs to keep up the pace because Marcy's going to be right on the back of Aboud. And here we go into the final corners. Marcy going to look to make a movie, looking to the inside of turn 27. He brakes relatively early. I don't think he's going to be trying to fight this too hard. I think he's just going to try and keep his P2.
Aboud used all his deploy before Marcy. He ran out of VRS for the lap just before Marcy, and that gave Marcy all the incentive he needed to get the move done. It was only a second or 2 seconds that Aboud ran out of VRS early, but it was enough to give Marcy the chance to nip through. He's got that penalty, but Aboud has got a nerve-wracking lap now to avoid warnings and avoid mistakes.
Oh, absolutely heartbreaking for Melty, really, isn't it? Oh no. Yeah, I think the decision not to pit there is really screwed over Melty, if I'm going to be honest. But obviously, the mistake there on the safety car restart. But you can't really, all looking in hindsight, of course. But now Aboud, P2 on track right now, only a second to Marcy. I think Marcy might actually able to steal a P2 off of this. Only 3 seconds of penalties for the Mercedes driver, so still in the lead on track. Still technically has a P2 on with the penalties. Harry F gonna have to keep on picking up the pace, but Marcy with that clean air really helping him. He lost a little bit of time following Aboud for that last lap, able to make the move into turn 1. I think that's really saved him here. MCFC serial killer Ben Scott P4, P5, and P6. Akram Karup P7, Ricky P8, Sumkhan P9. Still ghosted out there on track, but Marcy's heading into the final corner. He's derating. He's under that 10%. Is that going to help him, or is that going to hurt him? It's going to be close between Harry F and Marcy, but I think Marcy's going to be coming across the line in first here, taking the shortest line, run to the line, but it's going to be Aboud. First race here in Division 5, coming down from Division 4. He's going to win here in Saudi Arabia. No faults for the TTT driver really in this race. Marcy able to steal a P2 off of Harry F. 4/10 in the end, separate second and third. MCFC, after coming from P20, I believe, to take home a P4 or 4-5 to end off the day for Red Bull. And no Energetics not here tonight, but Red Bull still doing quite well. Ben's got P6. I think he'll be happy with that after lap 1, of course. Akan Corrupt in P7, Ricky P8. Slumkhan should be coming home P9, but he's been ghosted the entire race. I'm not entirely sure what the orgs will decide on that one. Swip coming to the line now. Excel Major and Alex Oliar for P11, P10 or P12. The last two to be lapped. And then, yeah, Swip just coming to the line, as well as Emperor Rub to end off this race. But wow, a little bit of controversy there in the end. We got a safety car right at the end of this race. Marcy will pick up driver of the day. He did start on the mediums, if I do remember correctly. Down at the back of the field, no lap time set in qualifying, but it's going to be Aboud who wins this race here in Saudi Arabia.
It was a most remarkable last couple of laps, and in the most unlikely circumstances, somehow Marcy won that race on track from P17 on the grid. MCFC, as you say, went from 20th to 4th, even with 9 seconds worth of penalties, which shows you how spread the field was, even with the late safety car. So yeah, Aboud wins from pole, but there were two defining incidents in the battle for that win, and it was that late move from Melty into turn 1, and then again the mistake from Melty out of turns 27. Marcy was P2, Harry F P3, MCFC P4, Serial Killer P5. He finished where he started after so long being in a battle for third. He ends down in 5th. Ben Scott P6, Ockhamcroft P7, Rickyard P8, Slumpcon 9th, Swip 10th, Major 11th. Alex Hilliard rounds out the points. Major did well to recover to P11, considering the first half of his race. Axel P13, Emperor P14, Ibo P15. After quite a strong qualifying him in P11. Melty didn't finish, Jav didn't finish, Bellon didn't finish, Jamie and Joseph did not finish. Just the one safety car. We could have had 3, but that is your order and packet. Let's see if we can get some of our podium finishes in the party, if their settings will allow. We are running over time, so we'll only do a question or 2 for each driver. But Aboud, as you say, it was, who wins in his first race in Division 4 after Division 5, rather, after his demotion from D4. I want to say that we've got 3 new podium finishes this season. I don't want to speak too soon, but Aboud certainly, and I don't believe Marcy has finished on the podium since that pre-season victory at USA. I don't think Harry F has either. But it's certainly, I'd say, with Energetics being absent, it's given people a chance to make gains in the championship, and no one really has. None of the pretenders to the throne of Energetics, neither Slumpcon nor Major, really had standout races there. Harry F has had a podium. He's had 2. He was on the podium last week. I think it shows me for not being here last week. Marcy had 1 at round 1, and Marcy also was on the podium last week. Again, shows me for not being here. They finished 2nd and 3rd last week as well. But you might think that makes it predictable, but I'd say this race was anything but, despite the field spread that we had. Are we able to get our podium finishes in the party packer, or we've got someone. I can't see who it is because my PlayStation UI is having a fit.
It is our race winner.
We've got our race winner with us. Oh, how exciting. We've run out of things to talk about, so we'll come straight to you, TTG Aboud. Congratulations on the victory, first race in D5, and you, given where Melty finished, I think it's safe to say you dominated that one from pole position. Talk us through that, your side of things for that race. Aboud?
Your mic is muted if you're talking, by the
Your
way.
mic, yes, your mic is muted. If you are talking, if you can hear us. Well, at least we've got him in the party with us, which is the main thing. Was there any sign of Marcy or Harry F last week? If not, then...
I believe we had both of them in the party. I'm not entirely sure.
Well, we will amble on for a little longer. We'll have a little more post-amble. If you missed Division 2, go check it out. J. Cole dominated that race, only to finish 7th. Ariel Funky Chicken took victory. Took him all season to get a win in Division 3 last season. Didn't win until the very last race. And now here he is winning in Division 2. Nathan JB and Ariel Carmentalist were your other podium finishes there. But commiserations to J. Cole for what had been quite a dominant performance up to the last few laps.
My mic is sorted, right? Can you hear me?
We can hear you. How was that race for you? Congratulations.
Thank you. It was pretty intense on my part because Melty was pretty quick. I had to push kind of hard to stay in his DRS zone and make sure I don't fall out. But yeah, it was intense to stick with the the DRS, and I had to stay focused all the time. And yeah, and then that safety car restart really had my heart in my mouth. That it was very chaotic, but I'm happy that I managed to pull it off finally.
Were you always going to do the opposite to Melty as you were coming around when that safety car came out? Were you always going to pit, or were you just planning to do the opposite to what Melty did?
I think I was always planning to pit because we both had such a big gap to the rest of the field, so I had nothing to lose really. So yeah, and Melty opted to stay out, and I felt it was also a double opportunity to also not only not lose out on positions behind because the gap was so so big, but it helped me do the opposite of what Melty did, which I think gave me an advantage heading into the final couple of laps.
Well, I think we both agree, me and Packer, that you played the strategy perfectly there. A few laps before that, there was a moment into turn one where it looked like from stream that Melty moved very late towards the braking zone. How was that from your perspective? Was that anger you, or did you think that was fair from Melty?
I mean, it certainly did catch me off guard because he moved pretty late while I was right behind him. But yeah, I'm not gonna report it or anything. I think maybe it was just about on the limit, and maybe I had more time to react. But I need to look back at the incident to get a final conclusion. But yeah, I'm not really worried about it. It's not that big of a deal.
Well, yeah, it all worked out well for you in the end, regardless of how that turned out. Packer, have you got anything to ask of our race winner this week?
Well, this question is finally open to me this week. Bahrain is in a week's time. What are your thoughts, and how do you feel for the upcoming Grand Prix, and about what your season could behold now in Division 5?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm not the strongest at Bahrain. I'll try to maximize the result by practicing, but I've never really practiced on it on a wheel before because I am new to the wheel, and I've only practiced certain tracks, so I haven't really got to Bahrain, but I'll try my best and see what happens. And for the rest of the season, I'm not sure, maybe I'm too late in the season to contend for the title, but I'll try my best, and we'll see at the end of the season if I'm a championship contender or not. But yeah, I just want to race for fun at the end.
Well, I want to say 81 points off energetics, so that's the target going forward. Thank you for joining us this week in the interviews, and congratulations once again on winning your first race of Division 5. Hopefully we'll see lots more of you over the season to come. Packer, do you have any final words after that chaotic race?
I think there's a little bit too much to put into words, if I'm going to be completely honest. Some controversy, we saw a few incidents, but we also, at the end of the day, saw some very good racing between some drivers. And the race result ended up in a way I think everyone could be relatively happy with. So yeah, overall, first time coming to Saudi Arabia and LOE, especially for Division 5, I think it was a good opener for this track.
A result everyone can be happy with, apart from you, because you predicted Melty to win. So I'm personally blaming you for cursing him there. Curse the commentator in action. But that is it from us, from me and Packer. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for enjoying the race. Go watch Divisions 1, 2, 3 and 4 and PC, if that's your cup of tea. We will be back same time next week, Bahrain. Hopefully I won't have the drama of having to host the lobby next week. But yeah, Bahrain, always a classic in League of Europe, so hopefully it throws up some good racing again. Congratulations finally to our podium finishes, to Aboud, to Marcy and to Harry F. But from us, that's it for this week. See you next week, same time, same place.